So where are we in the evolution of the MLS in terms of your presence within this country? Like, is it fair to call you guys part of the big five professional sports leagues?
Absolutely. And, not just because I think so. You measure what a major league is by the relevance of the teams, the facilities that they build, both for games and stadiums and practice facilities, the strength and commitment of ownership and the fan base. We'll have 12 million fans come through our turnstiles. We have a great global media package with Apple. So when I think of major league, I think of relevance. Does your team matter? Does the league matter? Does it resonate broadly? And Major League Soccer certainly does.
Well, make the pitch to me in terms of growth. Like, you're obviously seeing strong attendance. Can you put that in perspective in terms of years past?
Dramatic difference, Alex. And, let's put in perspective in the global football or soccer community. MLS has the second largest average attendance after the Premier League. And there are hundreds of professional soccer leagues around the world. Compare us to the arena sports, which is unfair. Our facilities are larger, we have fewer games, but our average attendance rivals that of other leagues here in North America. And it's been enormous growth. I mean, this league is going to be 30 years old. We started with a handful of teams and, we'd look at attendance trackers, and if we had 5 or 6 or 8,000 fans, we'd be really happy. We're averaging over 22,000 fans a game. Some large stadiums in Atlanta, we had 72,000 people at a game this year. Kansas City, a Messi game, 70,000 fans. So this is an enormous and very positive growth story for sure.
Let's talk about Messi since you brought him up. Clearly a major impact in terms of eyeballs, attendance, attention. Is Messi a one-off? In other words, at some point in the fairly near future, Messi's going to retire. How do you capitalize on the momentum of him so that you don't see sort of the bubble bursting when he does in fact retire?
I remember this question when David Beckham was rumored to be signed, and then would he play in LA? How long would he stay in Major League Soccer? What would he do to help grow the sport here in the United States before we had teams in Canada? And here we have the most popular player, one of the most popular athletes in the world, arguably, in my opinion, the GOAT, the best soccer player ever to lace boots. And he's had enormous impact. You could see that pink Inter Miami jersey everywhere around the world. It's the #1 selling jersey that Adidas has. And I think there'll be another Messi at some point. And we've constantly evolved from having big name players that could really make a difference and break through this very, very busy market, both domestically and globally. But I'm as excited about the young players that are in Major League Soccer and the kids that are coming through academies. The fact that in our MLS Cup, we'll have 2 great 22 and 23 and 24-year-old players that really, really are big stars in their country, played for their country's national teams.
Where do you envision the MLS going in terms of how soccer fans view it compared to the best leagues in the world? You can easily look online and you can Google it, and like generally I think fans think the MLS is I don't know, the 8th best league, the 10th best league, whatever the number is. Do you want to get to a point where you are considered to be at the same level as the European countries, or is that not really a goal?
No, it is a goal. I mean, I think any business needs to constantly evolve, but how you measure what best is, I think, is different depending on what lens you're looking at. To me, the data that might measure how many expected goals are scored, how many passes are completed is one measure, but we look at
International tournaments, though, right?
International tournaments, and we'll have Inter Miami, we'll have Seattle playing in the Club World Cup next summer. We are the champions of the last couple of years of the CONCACAF Champions Cup. Being better than Mexico has been a big goal of ours, and years ago, Alex, we couldn't even get on the field against Mexican clubs, and now it's a good match. We'll win 5 or 6 out of 10. I think the important thing is, how do you really measure what success looks like? I look at our stadium environment. I look at the quality of our facilities. I look at the fact that our players really care about their clubs, care about the league. And ultimately, we're the North American version of the global game. And we are presenting a different style and a different approach to the game. And ultimately, if you were to ask this question to somebody in England or Italy or Spain or in Argentina, they look at Major League Soccer and say, hey, we want to be more like them. So I feel pretty good about our referential measure against every other professional league.
How do you view the top European leagues? Are they competition to you? Are they leagues that you actually want to potentially partner up with more than you are today?
You know, you've seen lots of partnering over the years. In the early days, I came into Major League Soccer 25 years ago. There was no commercial market for the sport. There were really no stadiums. There was no fandom. There was no supporter culture. And ultimately, we were trying to raise the water level for the sport, get more people to care about it. Media companies care about it, sponsors, fans, and the like. Communities, municipalities like New York City now, after many, many years, will break ground this week on a new soccer stadium for NYCFC. And part of that is about this ecosystem of professional soccer. And I view all of us working together to grow the game. At the same time, I think there needs to be order and structure to that. We play lots of international tournaments. We have friendlies that are taking place. There are competitions that take place. Ultimately, we have to be able to deliver an experience for our fans in stadiums and deliver a media product that they care about.
Now, let's talk about your deal with Apple, because one thing I think maybe skeptics say is that, well, not that many people watch Apple TV Plus. And so, I'd like to watch the MLS, but I can only subscribe to so many services, and that one is one that I can leave aside. Why did you guys decide to do the Apple deal? And what was your logic in terms of choosing them over a larger streaming audience platform?
Well, this is going to be a little bit of a long answer, but it goes back to we had all of our teams on local television. We knew that was disrupting. We knew that many years ago. We had 60 different start times with our linear broadcasters. We get programmed the way the broadcasters wanted to put our games as opposed to when our fans wanted to see our games. We wanted a linear a streaming partner that would prioritize us so that we wouldn't get lost perhaps on a larger service. And we wanted a global streaming service. So every MLS game, we've got 2 start times as opposed to 60. Every game is produced like it's our version of Monday Night Football. That same feed is going to some cases Fox and Univision, because we do have linear coverage for a couple of games a week. And it's going around the world. It's going to Canada, to TSN, and over the air, over our streaming services in Canada. It gives us intentionality with our fans. Our fans said to us, we're watching most soccer from a streaming service, so we're delivering them best in class in terms of MLS Season Pass.
Do you feel like, had you struck a deal with ESPN Plus again, or Netflix, or someone like that, a bigger streaming service, that you may have gotten lost?
I believe so, Alex. If you go on Apple TV, you see Major League Soccer right there. You see MLS Season Pass right there for their tens and tens and tens of millions of subscribers. Apple's leaned into us as a priority. Whether they decide to do more sports is something that they'll decide. And frankly, I hope more people going to Apple TV is a better thing for Major League Soccer, but we'll see how all that plays out. But for us, we have the #1 largest company in the world, an incredibly innovative company. Our game will be broadcast, our MLS Cup in Times Square this weekend, probably not something that we would be able to do with a linear partner. We have the ability to have technology and data and multi-screen experiences, things we wouldn't have been able to do with a linear and perhaps even with other streaming services. So when you can partner with a company like Apple, you have opportunity to solve issues and lean into a better future. That's something we're very excited about.
You have not said how many subscribers there are to Season Pass, and I think the natural conclusion there is you're hiding something. Like, the number is not very good because you're not sharing it. Is that right?
It's not right, and we have more subscribers than we and Apple thought we would have. We have more people watching our games. Remember, we have every single game is like a national game. So think about the difference between a local viewer and a local sports regional, and now having that Seattle game was playing Vancouver broadcast around the world. At some point, there'll be more transparency. Apple and other streaming services aren't distributing subscriber numbers, but we'll see how that looks in the future.
Are you advocating for more transparency?
We always are.
Okay, so you want the number out there.
I think the number will get out there, and I think we'll
I
work
mean, here's our
together.
chance.
There we
Right,
go.
yeah. Just tell us.
That's true. I think that all of us would like to see more transparency.
They will have to say the number is what you're insisting. This is not a MLS issue. This is an Apple
Correct.
issue.
Correct.
Are there certain things you can do with Apple that you can't do with another streaming
Well,
service?
let me give you a great example. We had a Messi playoff game that was streamed live on TikTok, and you had 4.5 million uniques watching that broadcast. So that's the kind of thing that you're not going to see happen with a different partner. They're looking at new areas of connecting with fans, and we continue to work with them on the innovation side to find what's the next big idea. Maybe that's Apple Vision Pro. Maybe it's something that we can do with data. Maybe it's something we can do with sports betting.
What are your metrics say in terms of demographics of who's watching this? Is it a younger audience?
We have 75% of our viewers are under 45 years old. It's the youngest audience of the 5 major leagues.
One direction, though, that we've seen in terms of other sports and other leagues, NBA, NHL, is that as these regional rights come up, there seems to be a push toward broadcast stations actually picking them up. And you speak to the commissioners of these leagues, and they say, we're in favor of this because we want maximum reach. And so these are free games that are available on people's broadcasts. You guys have taken this in another direction where it's like, we're just going to throw all the rights from a streaming standpoint on Apple. And so they kind of control it all. And unless you're a subscriber, other than the few free games you get, you can't watch them. Does that limit your reach of MLS?
It really goes back to where were we? We have 600 games that we produce. Every game is produced as if it was a MLS Cup in terms of the quality of production, and our fans have been really excited about that. We have 6 free games a week. We have games on Fox. We have games on Univision. We have a number of games that are in front of any paywall on Apple. And this really is a leaning into what the next step is in the viewing experience, being able to put data on screen in ways that others can't, having a multi-screen experience. And part of that is leaning into a partner that is a streaming service. So I think there's more free than we've had in the past, more viewership to that. And we're pretty excited about the streaming future.
One trend we've seen that definitely applies to the MLS is ownership groups where their owners own multiple teams in different franchises. Is that healthy for the MLS, or are you deprioritized when owners own an NFL team, a women's soccer league team, a MLS team, and like there's only so much time
Oh
to
yeah, it's
dedicate?
quite the opposite. The league was founded by two NFL owners and Phil Anschutz, who owned a hockey team. And today, almost every team, with the exception of 4 or 5, is what we call a multi-team operator. It could be a big company like Phil Anschutz and AEG or Arthur Blank and AMB, but it could be a guy like David Blitzer, who owns an NBA team, a hockey team, 3 or 4 soccer teams. And I think that this idea of having efficiencies and being able to have the kind of staff that can be leaning into next generation data, or can utilize a global scouting service, or has best in class understanding of the fan experience or a stadium experience, who can offer MLS, probably the smallest of their holdings, the opportunity to benefit from larger investment and then larger capabilities.
The MLS Cup is Saturday. It's New York against LA, a repeat of the World Series. Just your thoughts on that matchup, and obviously no Messi, which maybe is somewhat disappointing.
Yeah, you can't. I can't tell you how many people have said to me, "Wow, Messi's not going to be in the MLS Cup." I actually think that's a good thing, right? Because I think everybody expected that. Messi comes in, and in Miami has a bunch of players that have obviously had a very good season, but you got to win every game. And that shows the commitment to, a competition parity that any team could win on any given time. Our playoffs are exciting, and there have been a bunch of upsets. We have Marco Reus, who's a very famous player from Germany, Emil Forsberg, a super famous player from also from Sweden, but a European guy, 2 young players from South America. The LA Galaxy won 5 MLS championships, and the Red Bulls, who haven't won any. So it'll be a great game. It's going to be in Dignity Health Park, which is a beautiful facility, and very excited about it.
Last question, I want to ask you about the salary cap of MLS, because there are people that look at this and say, look, the thing that's holding down the MLS is that they're only allowed, 3 exceptions on players in order to spend money like these other leagues are paying money. Does that need to change? Why is the salary cap the way it is?
I don't think people fully understand it, Alex. I mean, if you're going to look at what Miami spends on their 3 designated players and what there are other mechanisms for them to pay players outside of the salary cap, and all other clubs do that. We have teams spending 50, 60, 70, $80 million a year, more than many, many other European leagues. We have a thoughtful process. Invest in those players. Gabriel Peck, a young player that's playing for the Galaxy, was a $10 million acquisition. He's a young guy. He's probably worth $20, $25 million today. Teams could make those decisions in ways that work for them, and our system works for us. And I don't think any team has come to us and says, boy, I need to spend more money. They want to spend that money efficiently, effectively, and do it in a way that's strategic. And I think the Galaxy have proven that, and the Rebels have proven that. Rebels have 5 kids that have come out of their academy in New Jersey, local kids that are playing for their first team. That's their approach. The Galaxy went out and signed a bunch of players from South America and Europe. And that diversity of thought and strategy, I think, is good for Major League Soccer.
Thanks, Don. Have a good weekend.
Thank you.
Enjoy.
Thanks a lot.